Starting off this episode, we come back to the main town where we can go ahead and let the town folks know that we have returned and helped the village. We let him know that everyone should be kind to each other and everyone should be respecting Malcolm Mud as well. And yeah, everything's all good. He says, look, you guys fixed the lift. You can use the lift now, which is great, so we can get to a port. But we do discover this secret room where we can push this boulder, which is awesome. And we get another rainbow conch. We need to figure out what it's for. Also, this guy said that there's an issue with the pump not working, which seems like another side quest, but we didn't actually figure that out. And we do a little bit more walking around and head over to the lift in the end. Whilst on our way down, we notice the big red dragon that's surrounding the island here, and the whole team have a moment to take a look at it. It looks insane. Garl is super excited and he's enjoying his adventure so far. But we end up taking a lift to the bottom, which takes us to the world map so we can enter the Coral Cascades. We got our first look at this cool style area that has a lot of waterfalls, a lot more water around, so I like the change in environment with just playing around with the environment, as you can see. But yeah, taking a little walk around, collecting some of these little plants that are on the side. We actually discovered these new type of enemies as well, two of them. One of them expands into this big fish and starts charging up his skill. So we focus on taking down that skill, making sure they can't cast. That is the name of the game here, I think. This one kind of has like a basic ability, but after this we go straight into a Moonerang to get rid of that skill casting. The Moonerang does heavy damage to both of them, leaving the Krub, I think it's called, on critical HP. Garl finishes the job and we're good to go. We reach this point where there's 3 different waterfalls you can go down. We take the center one, leading to a group of enemies here, actually 4 of them in total. So this fight is going to be a little bit scarier than the first. We started our fight by trying to cancel the skill on one of these fish-like creatures. I don't know the name for them yet, I'll have to figure it out. But it gets its attack off and it's called Bubble Drop, which looks like this. Actually just takes one of our allies and drops them like that. They both cast it, so we take a little bit of damage there. We then heal up Zale quite nicely and transition that into a Moonerang on the next turn after a couple of hits and get some good damage out. Allied, we don't get enough damage out as we would have wanted, but we do kill one of them, which is good, the little blue tortoise things. Take a couple attacks from these guys and we should be on cleanup duty here. We start out by taking out one of the fishes with Garl, just like that. We then follow up by focusing the other fish down as quick as possible so we can stop the casting skills. Garl takes out the other blue tortoise. We have enough combo meter for a nice mending light to fully heal the team, and the fight's pretty much done after that. So we end up walking around for a bit, heading over to the right hand side where we're able to jump up here and release this chest where we get another rainbow conch. And then we head back to the area with the enemies and climb up this vine ladder into a second vine ladder. There's a whole pool here with currents and stuff, which we'll get into a bit later. But we find this moon cradle pie, which is awesome. Gives the full party a heal and some MP back. And then we do a little bit more walking around for the meantime. However, we don't end up finding too much and head back to the current water. Following the current, it actually takes us to this waterfall that leads all the way down to this new area. But rather than fighting these enemies, we go ahead and investigate on the right hand side. Find this chest and a couple of plants and berries that we can use for crafting. And the chest contains some obsidian ore, which I'm not sure what you can use for, maybe to sell, but pretty handy for now. Checking this in our inventory, it looks like they can just be sold, so yeah, just to make sure. They are only sellable items, but yeah, we'll go ahead and deal with these 3 enemies now who are all charging skills. Kind of scary. Actually start out with a Sumball, and fully charged one actually takes this guy out, so we only have 2 of them left, which is insane. Then follow this up with Garl's Hurl ability, which I don't think we've used this entire time. Doesn't really do much damage, but it does position them closer together for a nice Moonerang like this. Which does insane damage to both of them. At this point, they're kind of low, and we finish them off bit by bit with auto attacks. By the way, I keep saying auto attacks because I play leagues. I'm so used to that being a thing, but we end up looking around for a little bit and just find this sign that says if you're looking for a boat, you're almost there, which is pretty good. So we head over to the right side here, hopefully getting there quite soon, and we bump into these 4 enemies for a fight. This fight immediately looks really scary. It's the same fight we had before, but you have this blue tortoise included, and our mana is kind of low. Garl's half HP, so start off with Zale and see how we go. The main issue with this fight is that I have no way of cancelling any of their skills, so all 3 of them are going to cast, and that's going to do a ton of damage if they all land onto the same target. And so the first one picks up Zale, does a ton of damage to him, 32 damage to Insane. The second one picks up Zale, and the third one also picks up Zale. So he dies from full HP, which is a little bit rough. At this stage, we've still got Garl who can attack, but I feel like outside of his heal, he's not really that strong until he has some damage abilities. We're able to take out one of the fish, the Mangala fish, their name is, I finally learned the name, with Valir, which is pretty nice, and Zale revives in the next turn, which is awesome. We then have enough MP to do a nice Moonerang, which actually does decent damage to all the enemies. Then they're finished off by one basic attack each, but we do take some heavy damage onto Vale, or Valir, sorry, in that time. So because of that, we end up healing up a little bit, just to make sure that she's nice and healthy. After the fight, we end up heading back to the left side of the island because we didn't explore it completely to see if there's anything there. We stumbled across this campsite so we can heal up quite nicely, and there's these enemies in this kind of pit style environment, but this fight was super easy, just 4 of these little tortoise things without the fish, so pretty simple fight, and we take them down pretty quickly. I noticed there's a similar puzzle to before where we can guide the light and change the time of day, but if we light up all of these, or one of these lights even, then a statue appears, and I think it's the same on the other side, so we've got to find a way to actually do them both at the same time, and that's easily done by just doing the 5 first, I think, on the right side, and then quickly going over to the one with only 2 lights and lighting that up. Cool and quick easy puzzle, which is kind of good. And once both statues are up, we actually get a nice little cave that we can go into as the waterfall splits apart. Pick up this scroll and it gives Valir and Garl a new combo skill, which is awesome. So it makes Garl a little bit more useful now, which is good. Reading the description of the combo, it says it does moderate blunt damage to 1 target, so pretty good. Takes 2 bars, which is interesting, but we can try that out at some point, of course. Heading back over to the right side, we end up using the exit there, which leads to the world map. And from here, we end up finding this port town of Brisk on the right hand side. So we go ahead and enter, and this is hopefully where we can find our ship. So we're then actually introduced to these 4 pirate looking people who give a brief introduction. After a brief introduction with the 4 pirates, which I'm sure we'll get to meet as they might have a ship that we can use, I guess, based on the signs, we take a look around the village a little bit. It's really big. It's the first kind of big one we have, and we do a little bit exploring, but most of the paths are blocked off, so we collect a couple of items, including a rainbow conch, and then we keep it moving. Following the signs that says boat this way and talking to a couple of people, we end up running into the crew. So we approach them and we get some introduction from the first mate, Yolande Fortwell, who actually gives us a story beforehand about how they got there. It's about their ship being, or their town being burned, sorry. But yeah, then you have the captain Cliche, which is an interesting name, pretty funny actually. The first mate continues to introduce everybody, one called Valtrad and another one called Kennethan, I think his name is. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole party, and they have their own special perks. We give an introduction ourselves, let them know that we need to get to Wrath Island in time for the eclipse, and they're like, okay, we can help them, but we make a deal. So if we can beat one of them in arm wrestling, then we get to go for free. If not, we have to do a little quest for them. So we end up going off as a team to talk about it, see if it's worth it, see if it's worth our time. And Yolande just keeps talking a load of rubbish, to be honest, keeps interrupting the team. You can see they keep turning around, they're kind of annoyed. But yeah, she's just kind of being a bit nosy, and at the end of the day she says, look, meet us at the Humble Boast if you want to accept. So we're like, oh, okay, where's that? Ends up being a tavern that we can go to, and they exit scene. Then you got Garl and Teeks who are enjoying the relaxation and decide to go to the tavern, and we'll catch up with them a little bit later on. It takes time to look around the city a little bit more now that it's opened up. There's a shop here where we can actually buy some stuff for cooking, but we end up selling a lot of the stuff that we've picked up on our journey, which is great. So we got a lot of extra gold. Another shop here with a few items, a rock lid and a staff and whatnot, but we can upgrade our characters a bit later on. From here, we'll just go ahead and see what we can explore in the town. We immediately find this chest that has a pirate garb in it, and we equip that onto Valia so she gets some extra defensive stats, which is pretty cool. Heading to the north side of the village, we end up speaking to a few of the people as we make our way to this kind of hotel-like building. And as we walk inside, there's someone at the reception. They ask if we have the golden pelican, which we don't have in our inventory, so we need to come back another time. Coming out and going to the right hand side of the town, we explore a little bit more, see a woman that's scared of Wrath Island or says that she's heard bad things. End up finding another chest which has an arcane amulet increasing the magic defense of Zale, which is pretty nice. Walk around a little bit more, but we don't end up finding too much other than this guy laying on the beach chilling, and then we head into the humble boast in the end. After speaking to this guy initially, we decided to rest in the tavern, which is pretty good. Definitely need it. Team's been on a long journey. While we're resting, we can speak to some of our team members and we unlock a story with Teeks, which we don't read at this stage, but pretty quick rest. After that, we have to go look for Gal. Didn't mention earlier, but he was actually on a cooking quest, which is why he went to the tavern. And we find him in the back speaking with a chef who is teaching him some new recipes. He seems to be enjoying himself, which is awesome. I love his personality. He's such a cool guy. And he's the warrior cook of the team, which is awesome. But we agreed to go and see the pirates even. And so we head up to this little bench here where we interact with them and prepare for arm wrestling. The first mate explains that if we can't beat them at arm wrestling, then we need to go find an item for them. And either way they'll take us there, so we agree. We're like, yeah, sure, no problem. Gal decides that he's going to step up from the arm wrestling. He decides as Solstice Warriors we will be a little bit too strong, and their captain just mentions that they need to go all out, and they do. This guy rips off his shirt and all of a sudden he's got tons of muscles ready to take on Gal, and Gal gets destroyed, unfortunately. So we lose at arm wrestling, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to go on this errand. They laugh about it. Gal is all cool about it. It's gonna be a nice story for him, of course, but they kind of caught us by surprise. They somewhat cheated and we didn't know he was super strong. But either way, they let us know that north of the town there's an abandoned lab, and in there there's a coin of Undeath Accord, and they're gonna use that to control the ship basically. So they want us to go and get it for them. These are the terms essentially. They also explain that the crew are gonna help us get inside. They won't help us fighting wise, but yeah, they'll help us to open the door and we'll go from there. As we begin to leave, the first mate also gives us a few game pieces for a game called Wheels, and it's this game here that you guys can see on screen now. It's like a little mini game that you can play in taverns, which is kind of cool, and I'll probably play it on the side, but I'll skip it in the main videos. But for the meantime, let's go ahead on our quest to get this item. So we end up leaving the town and head over to the world map where there's a fishing spot and the ancient or the abandoned wizard lab, even this big purple style rock. But yeah, we go ahead and head over to it and we can see the crew come out to try and help us get inside. They end up using their fancy tricks, magic levitation, super strength and explosions to help us get inside by creating a huge hole like Yolande is doing here, the first mate. Once that's done, Kenethan, I think his name is, I still don't know how to pronounce that, says that he'll join us on the quest, and we end up looking around a little bit and then heading inside. As we start out, Kenethan says that there's an interesting device that we can use, which should help us to create portals. We end up pushing this block here and we speak to him again, which gives us a little bit more information on what we need to do here. And after running around for a little bit, we end up realizing that this block needs to go into place, and there's a chest up here which contains a green crystal. Now we can use this and set it onto this device here, which creates a green portal to start with, and we can enter that portal to start our first quest or adventure. We see these little creatures here, which looks like a new enemy type, and I'm just kind of messing around with them for the meantime, but we get into a nice fight here. So since we're full HP and MP, we start out with a Moonerang because why not? Might as well start off strong. And we get a really nice Moonerang here, but it doesn't do that much damage, so they're resistant to spell damage. They end up shooting this little ball attack that does moderate damage to one of our allies, which doesn't seem to hurt too much, especially if we can block it. But the rest of this fight is quite simple with their standard one attack that they do like this, and then us just kind of auto attacking them to death. Before we leave the fight, we try and heal up as much as possible before taking this last one down. So we end up looking around in this green portal room, and there ends up being a button at the top here, which when you press, it changes the layout of the room. So there's kind of a different path created each time you press the button, the purple one and then the cyan one. And yeah, we kind of just go back and forth pressing the buttons every so often, and it changes the layout, and eventually we end up getting to the end where we get another crystal. As you guys see in a second, in the top right hand corner there's a chest that appears, and we just climb up to the chest, get the blue crystal, and we head out the green portal. Not too much else happening here for now. Once we're here, we swap out the green crystal for the blue crystal, which opens the blue portal. We go ahead and head through, and we notice that the blue crystal portal even disappears, which is kind of interesting. There's also these holes in the ground, and it looks like they have arrows, one going to the right, one going up here. And for a while I'm a bit confused, but we end up jumping into the hole here, and it sends us up to this platform, which is interesting. So I guess if you jump into them, it will send you in that direction. We end up finding these two enemies up here, but these guys are super easy. We've seen them earlier in the game, so that fight ends quite quickly. Not gonna bother show that one. And as we continue to explore, we see another hole on the right here, which we jump into and end up teleporting to this platform here. We then see two more enemies, these new style enemies that we encountered before. Again, only two of them. Pretty simple. A few basic attacks just to take them out and top up everyone's MP. Makes this fight super easy. Moving forward, we end up jumping down here and seeing this button on the left hand side, which we need to get to. So we climb all the way around, and there's another one of those holes that actually shoots us over to the right where the button is. Once we jump in, should be able to press this button pretty easily and activate something, which turns out to be this brand new area that kind of appears with 4 enemies. Looks a little bit scary, but we end up walking all the way back around to get into a fight with these enemies. We're a bit worried when we first start this fight, being 4 enemies, but we end up using this crescent art attack on 3 of them. Actually does a lot of damage. We haven't used it too much. Pretty good. These them all on low HP, to be honest. We take this opportunity to hit the enemy on the right with 2 attacks, one from Zael, one from Gar, which means that all 4 enemies are low. And from this point, we kind of just take them out with 1 attack on the future rounds and make sure we heal up our party so they're all good for the next fight. After the fight's done and we step on the panel, it opens up this new hole that allows us to get back to the center. So we go ahead and take this portal back to the center. There's also this bridge that gets released here on the left side, so we can pull that lever. So simply following the path around, we pull the lever now, and this releases a path in the middle. So in the beginning, if you remember, we had these 2 different portals we could choose. We didn't choose the one on the right, so we go ahead and choose that now. And as we do, it then connects us to the center, which then loops us even more center and lets us activate this button, which is awesome. This button actually ensures that we can put 2 crystals now on the main centerpiece at the beginning, which is cool. So we can put both the blue one and the green one, and then we can make a teal like portal and go in that portal and see what happens. After we go ahead and put the green crystal in, we do heal up our party a little bit, which is nice to just to make sure we're all topped up. The portal disappears again, and we go into the water here where we find a rainbow conch in a chest. Still don't know what they do, but I guess we'll figure that out soon. Jumping over these platforms, we get to this little beacon, I guess, which we activate, and 4 enemies come out with 1 new enemy in the corner. You can see it looks like a little crater inside with like walls around it, I guess. Starting off with an attack from Zael and from Gar, we take out this enemy in 2 attacks. Then we use a Moonerang, an empowered Moonerang, to be able to disable the skill of that new enemy. Not sure what it does when it counts to 0, but it also only has 1 HP, so I'm not going to let it really do anything. From here, the enemies kind of are super easy to take down. Simple basic attacks and healing, so we cut this fight quite a lot. That then seems to activate this light on this pillar here. So it looks like there's 3 lights we need to activate. We can see 1 pillar or 1 more beacon on the top on that island there, and then 1 on the right here. If we push this block over, we can activate this beacon, and I assume more enemies. Yeah, more enemies do appear, but we'll probably skip these fights. The enemies are not really too tough, quite easy to deal with. Valir deals the finishing blow, which is pretty good, but more importantly, we actually get enough experience to go to the next level, which is insane. Very cool, awesome stuff. We decided to give Zale some extra defense so he doesn't get one shot all the time. Give Valir a little bit of magic attack so she does some extra damage with her Moonerang, and then we make Gar a little bit tanky with some extra HP, which works out pretty nicely. After that fight's done, we move the block into position to get the final beacon, which releases these 2 enemies, the new style enemies that we've seen in this area. Fight's super easy, it's only 2 enemies, not really too challenging at all. But once that's done, that actually activates a 3rd light on this pillar, which is awesome. I keep saying cool, so I don't want to say cool a lot. But yeah, once that 3rd light is activated, this pillar rises from the water, and we're able to get this chest that's hidden behind the waterfall. As you could have guessed, there was another crystal behind the waterfall, red one this time. We actually can't put it in the centerpiece just yet because it's not activated, but we swap out the blue crystal for the red one. So we got a nice yellow portal that we can go through. And we'll continue exploring this in the next episode, guys.